that have got access to apply for any posted listing of a job for an English teacher, and it's white women and men. They can apply anywhere and face a fair shot of being hired. Go to Korea and see the South African tables turned, and let that sting rest and marinate for a minute. Let that stew. South African black people who feel entitled to BEE preference, go to Asia to try and teach English, to feel the rain on your skin, or let your toes feel the sand. Tell yourself you're gonna go and live a life like a digital nomad, out here with no worries, since you are yet to have children. Or maybe you have them and you're traveling with your husband. Go as a black person. Go and feel what it's like to be a white person in South Africa. It'll hurt. You'll want to leave one school because you're tired, you're bored, or you feel oppressed, or you feel unhappy, or you feel stuffy. You feel like you don't want children, you want adults, or you feel like you don't want adults, you want children, or you feel like you don't want high school, you want primary. Go and try to change scenery. Go and experience the indiscretions of a society that is so homogenous that they think they can carry on like that indefinitely, but they won't be able to maintain it. Go, because there are countries in this world that thoroughly will tell you no blacks. They still are like in the days of slavery, days of segregation, days of apartheid, and they are regarded as first world countries, and nobody's calling them out for it. Nobody is picking a controversy with it. Nobody is taking them to book with it. They will likely get reprimanded later on, but not yet. And for as long as they're yet to be reprimanded, and for as long as it's yet to be too much of a taboo, it's going to continue to sting, break the hearts of black people, Indians, non-whites, in Korea, in China, in Japan. It's going to continue to sting. But how long is it going to take for it to be eradicated? How long did it take for South Africa to have so many whites and so many coloreds and so many Indians that you can't afford to call yourselves a homogenous society anymore? Those number of years that it took for South Africa to be mixed, that's how long it's going to take for Koreans to be mixed. Their children have to go to universities as exchange students and meet kids in other countries, or fall in love with them and take them home. But they might have mixed children, enough for there to, in next coming generations, to be enough colored people or people of color. In my country, the term colored is not derogatory, so please don't come at me. Enough for them to have enough people of color in that country for their strange little job listings to be taboo now. They can afford to be that taboo now because they're so homogenous, and they get to choose because, you know, they get to. But the day's gonna come and they can't anymore. But before then, you who just wants to go and feel the rain on your skin in another country are gonna get slapped with a most racist mistreatment of your person that you're gonna miss going into a career site in this country, and you being like a language school in Korea that thoroughly can actually put a listing on a recruitment site that says, oh, whites only. But in your country, it's littered across our employment agencies. Blacks only. Oh, look at that go. Okay, colors only. Or colors and blacks only. Indian, black, EE only. Yeah, in South Africa, there is this bizarre thing going on where people are just EE only. EE only. We need black representation in the government. We need black representation in the private sector. We need black representation in universities. We need black representation, and so you just leave out on a limb from a dream of a student from studying at Wits because it's just one too many white students. Even though they have qualified, they've gotten the right results. But just for the sake of filling in America they call it diversity, equity, and inclusion. For the sake of filling your DEI quota, then leave out some people until you as a person benefited by those laws go to a country that just don't care for what you gotta say. Because your country has so incubated you, cuddled you, swaddled you like a baby. Now you're gonna go somewhere where you're out in Makaze, and your CV will be down there amidst everyone else's. Your CV will be entirely disregarded amidst everyone else's. And in Korea, how much experience you have as an English teacher, how many years you've taught. That's also another thing I came to learn. Which is why I was like, God, why are you sending me to that country? I can't go. I can't. I'm 41 now. I'm turning 42 this year. They're exceptionally ageistic. Not only that, like I said, there is a bias towards Koreans. Everyone will always be regarded as a foreigner. There is Western privilege towards people from America and Britain and etc. And I'm South African. And there's also a bias towards, there is a bias also in particular towards white people over there. And I looked at my king, my Messiah, my God, and I was like, how are you gonna send me to a country, God, that looks at people that are my age as spent, people that are my skin tone as expandable, and people that are my nationality, essentially non-Korean, as dispensable. And on top of that, I don't have a degree. How are you going to tell me that I'm going to Korea? Not only that, my earning potential and my ability to move left or right in that country is restricted to me only being in what you call this. It's restricted to me only being in what do you call this thing? In certain kinds of schools because of me not having a degree. And also being an English teacher only. All my other skills and that which I've been lamenting again about for years. It's gonna be a maintained disregard of my person there too. And now it's gonna be worse because I'm not even theirs. I'm not even theirs. What I stand to do for the country, how I stand to benefit it is going to be regarded entirely as irrelevant. I also can't speak the language, though I intended to learn. When you showed me I was moving to South Korea, I was excited, but now I don't even think I can go. Never mind because I don't want to go, but because there are barriers to entry, one of which being I don't have a degree. They demand one. And secondly, I am who I am. I'm black. And I'm old. I am old by Korean standards. Frankly, by the world's standards. Even my country treated me like I was a geezer. But here I am much more of a spring chicken than I ever can be in Korea. And there's also a problem in the country with beauty standards. Beauty. They need a person to show their face on a CV in order for them to determine if at all they're going to hire them in a job. So the black candidates that are most likely to get hired in their schools over there are the ones, and again, not you going to the rural areas, but working perhaps in Seoul, are just these gorgeous girls or these really handsome guys that are like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27. What is Korea gonna do with a 45, you want me to be 45, with a 42-year-old, let's just round it off to the nearest year, with a 42-year-old black woman that doesn't even have a degree? My face on a CV maybe might get me looked at, but as soon as they see my age, and never mind see my age, but what am I gonna do with you? You don't have a degree. They're not gonna regard me. How you gonna tell me that I'm going to Korea? I don't get it. Like, just basically what I learned about the country, it's all very disturbing to me. I am the least likely person to do any kind of well over there, and while I know that it's a stepping stone and a means to an end for me to ultimately to leave South Africa at all and then find myself wherever I need to go eventually. It's not like I'm gonna try and grow a career in the country. I wasn't even planning that. I just wanted a way out and somewhere where I would have a career so that I can be able to do what I've always wanted to do, YouTube. And also other streams, like other businesses. And in Korea, like other online digital like businesses. And in Korea, this E2 visa, it restricts how much work you can do in the country. You can only do whatever it is that the visa is there for you to do. You must do that. So while there are people who have YouTube channels in Korea that are monetized, they however cannot, for instance, get things like brand deals, etc. because like in order for them to get paid, they have to give detail. Listen, it's just, there's a complicated, like this, they're making sure that people cannot stay in the country for any other thing but what it is that they're there for. And if you want to do anything else in the country, you have to apply for a different kind of visa. It's not that they won't let you do it. You just have to, like, it's just an onerous process. And I don't need any of that. I need to be able to start trying to do what I want to do with my life. But as a digital nomad from another country, so I can, while I am in the interim phase of finding myself in the eventual country that I will live for the rest of my life, which I no longer think is the US, because my mind is changing about that country, okay? Though God showed me I would end up there, I frankly don't want to go. I don't want to go anymore. I don't want to go to the US. I've changed my mind. But whatever God is doing is not about what I want, but what He's ultimately doing. Right, I need to be able, however, to fulfill my destiny, do what I've always wanted to do. My hands with which I want to work. I want to be able to use them. And I can't go to a country that restricts how much of an entrepreneur I can possibly be because I don't have the right kind of visa. And that's what's going on with Korea. I was like, God, you showed me Seoul, and I gave up. As soon as I listened to what were the requirements in order to work as a teacher in Korea, the first thing that slapped me was a degree and I lack it. And the second thing that slapped me was the recognition of the fact that so very many ESL teachers are graduates, are fresh out of university, bunch of kids, people that, I mean, frankly, I could be their mom. If not mom, just much older sister. And that would just make me feel so out of place. And also, this place is extremely, what do you call this? Beauty. It's like a whole thing. Maybe they won't find me beautiful. Or maybe they will find me beautiful, but you know, for an old woman. And so therefore prefer me over some 20-something-year-old. I'm not trying to grow a career as a teacher in Korea. It is a stepping stone to go somewhere else doing something else. Just to get out of South Africa, it is the first place where I will feel the rain on my skin, right? So I'm not too bummed about not being able to grow as a teacher. I wasn't planning on growing. Not at least as a teacher in a classroom. I certainly wanted to coach English on the internet, but I've got all these barriers to entry preventing me from starting a YouTube channel successfully. So I wanted to experiment with a YouTube channel from another country and see what these South Africans out here in these dusty streets to basically test if at all they indeed functioned as these maladies against my future. These marauders, these thieves, these looters, these castigating goons. I want to see if I can shake them when I'm in another country so that I can finally start to build wealth somewhere where there are no barriers to entry, including starting YouTube, which is why I'm studying my TEFL course like it's coming out of my nose, because I love it. It's something that I didn't think to do, but when it was recommended to me, it became a little bit of an idea that could grow into a passion. So therefore, when you have something that you have discovered could actually become a passion, you then cultivate it. And I intend to teach, however, on YouTube, the English language. That is the core growth trajectory that I am gunning for. So therefore, teaching in a school is just a stepping stone, a something that I'm going to use as a linchpin to get me elsewhere. But it's not the thing I'm going to stay in. And so because it's not the thing that I'm going to stay in, I don't anticipate that I'm going to ultimately naturalize and become a citizen in Korea or an expat maybe for like 10 years or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen. I am going to go somewhere else eventually, but my wealth, building it, has to start in the first country I go to. Building wealth has to commence in the first nation that I will go to. And at this present moment, that country was told me. I did not come up with it as an idea. It wasn't my epiphany. It wasn't my suggestion or my plan. It was given me by God. And that's why I am wrestling with it so much. How are you going to give me somewhere as a first stepping stone to get out from oppression in this country? Somewhere where anything I want to do, I'm going to be worse off there than here. I'm going to be worse off because I'm not going to be able to freely move, and I'm not going to be able to freely grow wealth with the kind of visa that I'm going to have over there. Why would you send me there? My question was, why would you send me there? You know I don't have a degree. You know, I was working towards it. I've got, frankly, 3 years worth of studying under my belt, but I did not get to do one module. I've only done 2. I qualify as a second year, completed second year. But right now I owe Wits fees because I haven't been able to pay anybody anything. So therefore, even if I were to try and apply for that program in Korea that can take a person that has got at least up to 2 years of university studies from a nation, I mean, what is the mindset of countries like China, Japan, and Korea, insisting on a person having a degree, even though they can speak English natively, to teach, and even though with a TEFL certificate they can do a fairly decent job. It is in order to indeed verify that they're a native English speaker, because it's very hard to study anything in a language that is not your first language or your native language. I remember I told you guys the other day that I never could understand how Afrikaans kids could study maths in Afrikaans. Because listen, Afrikaans is such a hard language, but only because I can't speak Afrikaans, even though it's one of the languages taught in this country, I can only attempt it here and there. So I can't fathom studying maths or science in Afrikaans, but an Afrikaans native can study maths and science in Afrikaans, right? And I told you guys about how there were these black kids that were attending these Afrikaans schools whose primary language of instruction was Afrikaans, and we used to look at them in my school as, how are you as a black kid studying like Aardrijkskunde, Wiskunde, like Engels, like all these? Okay, I can understand studying Afrikaans and Afrikaans, maybe even Engels, but what are you doing studying maths and science and biology in Afrikaans? Like, can you do it? But only because these students, their parents took them to law school, whatever, and then hoër school, whatever. So therefore, as black kids, they thoroughly got all their education in the Afrikaans schools. As black kids, they got all their education in Afrikaans schools. So while I can't understand how a black kid would go to an Afrikaans school, because for me, I just don't know how a black student can be fluent in Afrikaans. They exist. They exist. And there were kids that were raised in Afrikaans schools, that were educated in Afrikaans schools in a native speaking English country like South Africa. Understand? And so therefore they were able to succeed to do that, which I couldn't fathom they could do, even though they looked my race and so my skin color, and so therefore I was like, how could you? But they were raised in it. What I'm getting at is that in order to judge successfully from a distance without really knowing a person's ability to, interact a language with another, the best way that you can figure out that they're definitely speaking fact when they say that they can speak English and they're not just trying to dupe the system, cause us to buy them a ticket and whatnot, succeed to interview well in English, but then really struggle to have a thorough grasp with the language. The best way that we can verify that these people are indeed native English speakers is if they can go through a higher learning education in a country that is a native English speaking country whose universities instruct in English. If they can graduate from these universities, it says, because they wrote essays in English, they did chemistry in English, they did history in English, they wrote entire references and bibliographies in English, they researched in English, they submitted assignments in English for 3 to 4 years, they got a degree in English. So while I can't verify if a person is lying to me as to whether or not they're a native English speaker, one thing that is certain is that you're not going to pass university as somebody that cannot speak English when the language of instruction in that university is English. That's why in the UK, if you want to study over there and you come from a nation that is not a native English speaking country, you have to do a test called the IELTS, IELTS. Basically, it is an assessment of your English speaking skills to see if at all you can succeed to study in a British university. That's why they want people to have a degree. That's why some countries are not pedantic about a degree, because they know that in order to teach English as a second language, you don't need a degree truly, but we need to know that you can do this thing by mere virtue of you having endured 3 to 4 years of university instruction in whatever field, it doesn't matter. and passed, you show that you were able to do English. You are able to, you are a true native speaker, because you wouldn't have passed university without knowing English well. It's the thing that I was asking myself. And so I was like, Lord, I did graduate. And not graduate. I did study all the way to 3rd year. I was sabotaged. You knew that one day in the future this would be an impasse that would face me, a blockage that would face me. You knew what people did to me and how I could not take myself back to school. You knew all these things, and here it is that you're telling me that I'm going to, the first place that I'm gonna go that's going to get me out of South Africa is Korea. And even then, the thing you suggested was to teach English, and indeed you can only ever do that, largely. Other jobs are hard to come by unless you're an English teacher. I don't have a degree, though I have one. I don't have a degree, even though I have one. Are you listening to me? I don't have a degree, but I have a degree. I studied all the way to 3rd year. I've got 2 majors in 3rd year on my academic transcript at Wits University. I was left with 1 module to graduate. I was going to do it the next year, to the year where I was abused. If anything, I was going to finish my degree the year where I got abused, but because of what I was in, I endured. I lost it. I would have gone back to school if I was enabled to, and actually gone to fetch my degree. So therefore, I'm a graduate, but I don't show on paper. And because of the fact that my fees at Wits are not yet fully paid, I owe, and I intend to pay off all my debts, because I can't keep them going. I'm a child of God. We don't do stuff like that. We don't run away with people's money. So if at all I was awarded an ability to be able to pay my way, I would, of course, pay off all my debts, including Wits. And only once I've paid Wits do I have any fighting chance to essentially make them give me my degree, because frankly, I studied all the way to 3rd year. I was only missing 1 module. So if you drop my graduation, if you move my degree type from a BCom to a BA, I'm a graduate. The only reason you can't make me a graduate is because under the BCom course at Wits, it was compulsory for you to do business statistics, and the only module that was left outstanding was business stats. However, in a BA, you don't need business stats. So if you were to convert my degree over to a BA as opposed to a BCom, I would be a graduate. By the standards of Wits, by the number, based on the number of credits that you needed in order to essentially qualify as a graduate, I would be a graduate. I've got 2 majors at the 3rd year level, and then everything else, a couple on the 2nd year level, more even than the regular. I've got a lot of 2nd year subjects, because I kept changing my subjects. And then all of the 1st year ones, some of which are from BA, because I first started Wits in kids at BA, and then I moved over to a BCom. So I've got a whole bunch. Listen, I'm so educated. I've got a whole bunch of BA subjects in 1st year that I walked away from to do a BCom. So on my academic transcript, you will come across things like anthropology, politics. You will come across politics, philosophy, psychology. And then after moving over to a BCom, that's when then you will see subjects like introduction to commercial law. You will see subjects like corporate finance, investments. You will see subjects like computational mathematics. You will see subjects like economics. You will see subjects like, yeah, I did all that because I kept changing. So there's so many subjects that I passed at Wits that the only thing that is shortchanging me from a BCom is business stats. But if I were to switch that degree over to a BA, I would get a degree. I would get a degree, like instantly. I would get a degree. And I tried to argue for that at Wits when they wanted to exclude me. I've gone through hell on earth. We had a fight, and they were going to agree, let me come back the next year to finish my stats, but I wasn't able to go back. I don't know what they have ever since then done with my degree. But I am a graduate, and I studied for a very long amount of time, and even then I've got way more credits on my academic transcript than the regular 3-year bachelor's degree at a South African university, because I kept changing lanes. But I studied and I passed those subjects, and they have been accredited to me in my transcript. Some of them, they did not count them under the BCom because they were BA only subjects. Subjects like politics and philosophy, they didn't count them under my BCom. But if I were to switch over to a BA, they would be counted. Today, I don't care, because I was already confused at university anyway as to what I graduate in. I just want my degree, because I want to be able to carry on from here where I left off. I want to be able to essentially hone in and focus on the niche that I have chosen. But I can't do that without my primary degree, and I won't get taken seriously without my primary degree. So am I angry at the fact that I don't have my degree at this? A little bit now, because look at it coming to bite me in the behind, what people did to me. I didn't do it to myself. I didn't drop out. And I asked this to the Lord. I said to God, how are you going to send me to South Korea when I don't have a degree? Except I do have one. But you know what happened, God? I owe fees at Wits, and there is a program in South Korea, since you telling me that I'm going to South Korea, that pays a lot less money, that can take people that have studied up to the 2nd year. But in order for me to even apply for that program, and so therefore obviously be with a bunch of 22-year-olds, it's fine. If that's where you want me to go, I will go, because I trust your plan. I nonetheless have to get, on that day, a sealed transcript evidencing study up to the 2nd year at Wits. So much has even slightly considered in Korea. If I don't have a degree, I can apply for teaching in like Busan or whatever. I can apply for teaching in Busan, another type of ESL space where there largely you will be teaching kindergarten. You can only teach up to kindergarten. And while I don't have an issue with kids, I did say to the Lord that I want adults. And I also would like to rather teach business English. But these are my petitions that I took to God. The Lord, however, knows what he's doing with me and what he knows I will ultimately prefer or like. It's just that I haven't tried it yet. So if you were to put me with kids, I might like it, but not that I don't like kids. I just want adults. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I'm supposed to be a coach for grown people. But anyway, I'm actually looking at God or something. So, okay, you're sending me to Korea. Very well. I don't know how, because I don't have a degree. I didn't find out that there is a course, not a course, but an avenue that you can go to Korea using. If you are up to second year and either still studying or you didn't even finish your degree, you don't want to finish it. But if from your university, you can give them. That's what made me figure out that all they want is to know that you can study in English to trust you. They're willing to take you if you have studied up to the second year at a university in one of these approved countries. UK, Canada, US, I told you, right? South Africa. I do have that. But I owe its fees. And if you owe its fees, they're not going to give you a transcript. They're not going to give you jack until you pay the fees off. And I don't have money. I don't have a way to get this done. So how am I going to go to Korea, Lord God Almighty? Father, in the name of Jesus. How am I going to go to Korea? Lord Almighty. How's a sister girl ever going to make it to Korea? How? And that's why I came here to record this video. How am I going to get to Korea if God wants me to go to Korea? And even then, like I said, very ageistic, and there's a whole bunch of young people over there that it might make me feel a little bit old, but really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's a means to an end, it's a stepping stone. It's a move from one space to another, and I knew that if I come here in my ministry, I will figure it out. How am I going to get to Korea? You want me there, clearly. Even though I gave up on it, you showed it to me. So Mandla, are they just going to ignore, overlook, overcome, overwhelm, have no regard for? Are they going to have compassion on my sorry, sappy story of South Africa? South African indiscretion. Are they going to care that the South African government has no regard for me? Well, these people might love me one day because I will give them Jesus. Initially, I'm just another foreigner. Y'all just heard the statistics of Korea pertaining foreigners, right? So initially, you gotta go in a space, impress some people, love them until they love you. You're not gonna win them over until you go in essentially at their level and respect what they're doing as a country. As a foreigner, therefore, you do wisely and you do well. You do excellently to respect a nation's laws. And if you're gonna go there, investigate, study, interrogate. If they appreciate what you're doing, if you're Christian and they don't have an issue with you being Christian, great. Then you can practice your religion. They're not gonna try and come up your nostrils. You can maintain your own cultural identity and heritage in your own house, but do not try and bring the culture of your country to that country. Don't try to change Korea. Only be grateful that they will let you be a Christian in peace. That's the most important thing to me. How it is that they operate, there are a few things that are a little bit challenging, and don't nobody want to be out here getting stared at a train all the way in the ride. But why wouldn't you stare at a Chinese man waiting for a taxi? He sticks out like a sore thumb because he's an Asian in the midst of a homogeneously black ghetto in Africa. So why wouldn't people stare at me? I look different to them. So don't feel any kind of role about how everybody is just staring at you. And you might even get some ugly looks from others. However, largely they're just curious in the same way that you would be curious about seeing a white person just sitting down and starting smoking a cigarette. What is this guy doing in the Gussie? Is he here to visit someone? Somebody look at this guy. Somebody take care of this guy. Somebody ask him what's going on. And then if you were to find out that he actually lives in one of the houses there down the road, you'd be shocked. Yo, why would a white person decide to come and live Kosowich? It's not unheard of, but it's rare. Therefore, if you're that rare and you live among a people that don't expect you to stay, and everybody is expecting somebody to fetch you with a sign written Karabo, and so therefore take you to an airport. If you live in a space like that, baby, just reverse the roles and understand that you would also find it odd to find a white person just sitting on a crate drinking Hansa at a Shabin in the Gussie. It's not entirely unheard of, I would imagine, but it's rare. And if the people in that region only stare at him because you're different, but they don't abuse him, let the drunk white man in the Shabin do what he wants to do. Let him clutch his purse and protect his belongings because this here joint is violent, kind of dangerous. So if they can just if they can just leave this black woman alone, I'm good. And from what I heard, and so listening to the stories of all of these black people, the foreigners essentially in Korea, is that don't try and change their culture, don't try and whatever, and you are going to stick out like a sore thumb. So people will stare. However, in so sticking out like a sore thumb and people staring, my dear darling, insofar as they don't go out of their way to slap you and mistreat you, you're okay. And while there are isolated incidents of racism, there is always going to be racism everywhere you go. Largely everybody is just left alone. to be who it is that they are. They want to be. And so that's why there isn't, once they go to Korea, they don't come back home within 2 days or whatever. They don't immediately just pack their bags and come back home. It means that they're just left alone to be the white guy in a Shabin in Zola, Soweto, drinking cold yambamba. Rare, odd, weird sight that's going to get you stared at, but it's not entirely unheard of. Actually, I feel like it is unheard of, but nonetheless, you get my point. Have you ever found a white guy? Maybe my analogies are too extreme. Perhaps not in a Shabin Kokasi, but you know, like in Vilagazi Street, for instance, it's been so gentrified that a whole bunch of white people and tourists are found there every so often. But other parts of Soweto, like deep Soweto, you're just not going to find white people. You're not going to find Indians. You're not going to find whites. You know. So if they're there, everybody's going to stare. If you bring a white friend to your house at Deep Kloof, one is going to stare at them, but largely they're going to let them be. They're going to leave them alone. They might even win interest from a bunch of kids playing around at their feet, but largely they're just going to be left alone. And so just imagine yourself as like a white person in like Protea, Soweto. You stick out. Why wouldn't you? And so far as people leave you alone, you're cool. And for the grander majority, people are cool with just leaving foreigners alone. There are the odd incidents here and there spoken of. Foreigners across all racial groups spoke about in the metro. Listen, what's metro? It's a train. In the train, the public commuting system, on the right and on the left. On the left and on the right of where they're sitting. People just don't sit over there because they don't want to sit next to foreigners. I mean, that kind of stuff would hurt. It would sting somebody so sensitive as I am. But seeing as I have heard so many other experiences of other people having no one want to sit next to them in the train, I would just listen to gospel music in my ear with my earphones and just hunker down, read a book, watch a YouTube video, and just let it be, because baby, this here is a homogenous society. It's going to take a minute for them to recover, to overcome, to conquer this thing. And the way that they're going to conquer it is by nkane. They're not going to be able to maintain the thing that they're doing because their kids are going to fall in love as exchange students in foreign countries and bring Africans home and make babies with them. They're going to bring Mexicans home and make babies with them. They're going to bring whites home and make babies with them. Their country's going to get diversified whether or not they like it. And for as long as they open their borders to foreigners, this is going to happen. Because there will always be a potential for foreigners to have babies with their people. And for as long as they are bringing in foreigners into their country, it's going to happen. And for as long as their people, and as long as their people from age of kindergarten, from pretty much out of the womb, it becomes now a determination by the nation's government to teach them English. They're going to be taught the world's lingua franca. And so therefore, as a result of having English on their resume, they're going to travel to other countries and meet other people over there and bring them home, like I say, right? And since Korea, I found out that it's very, very safe. It's beautiful to live in. People love it. So therefore, an American, a Korean that falls in love with an American, they very potentially would more than likely make a decision instead of living in America. And also just in terms of cost of living, they will more than likely, seeing as they got married and fell in love, choose to stay in Korea. In South Africa, I know of a woman, one that I'm watching, I watch her vlogs every so often. She asked her husband, would you ever consider moving to South Africa? And he was like, no. And the two of them are in Korea, and she's content to stay in Korea because she gets it. She is from here. So while she would have come back to her country at some point, she got married, she fell in love. And the decision of the couple is to stay in Korea. They're gonna make mixed babies. They're gonna make black, half Korean babies. And all of these half black, half Korean, half Indian, half Korean, half whatever, half Korean babies all over the show are gonna create such a large population of Korean citizens that don't look like ancestrally native Koreans until they are just gonna have to adjust, change the way that they do things, because now there are citizens born in their country that don't look like them, and there's more and more of them in kindergartens, in creches. There's more and more of them in primary schools popping up all over these hogwans or whatever. They're popping up all over the show from parents who are of different nationalities, and they made a decision to stay in Korea for whatever their reasons might be. Coming from Europe, coming from America, coming from South America, coming from Africa. It's going to happen whether they like it or not. It might not take 10 years, 5 years overnight. Though what's going on in Korea, things in Korea are moving at such a fast rate that the way that things used to be yesterday are significantly changed in comparison to tomorrow. Significantly changed in comparison to yesterday. So it might happen at a faster rate, because I found out a miracle about Korea, that apparently, allegedly, within our lifetime, within our generation, they were a third world debilitated country that had just survived war at the hands of Japan. And in just one generation, within our lifetime, they have succeeded to become a first world country. It shows that Africa, you are a spoiled brat. You can do it. You can do it now. You can come from being third world and at the dregs of society and be one of the biggest and baddest countries in the world. Africa is just without excuse, is what I'm getting at. It is also one of the safest countries in the world. Africa is without excuse. How long is taking for you to ultimately become first world? South Africa was called an emerging market when I was growing up in high school. It's still an emerging market. Why? Korea, and you came out of apartheid within my lifetime, right? Just as Korea came out from oppression under Japan in our lifetime, in one generation, and became what it is today. What excuse do you have, South Africa, who have got all this farmable land? Like I said, you've got a wealthier landscape in terms of minerals and resources to really, truly be a powerhouse economically. Korea, they are technological beasts. I found out that they've got the fastest internet speeds in the world. They out here in my house, we've got an LG microwave and a Samsung fridge. Their products are all over the show, but there's all these issues in Korea. There's these like massive corporates that are the only big powerhouses over there, and competition is severely restricted. But what Korea has made themselves, they have made themselves that thing largely not so much from natural resources on the ground, as in their land itself did not give them wealth. It's their brains. They innovated themselves into the first world. They don't have a lot of farmable land. They've got more of a concrete jungle than the plush land flowing with milk and honey that Africa is. And yet Africa with raw natural resources. They don't even need you to be too clever to be a first world country, because your nation in itself is just giving you juice. The very land on which you live has got diamonds, gold, and of course farmable land. You've got minerals. Did I say minerals? You've got metal, you've got steel, you've got listen, so Africa is without excuse. You are without excuse. Listen, you are without excuse. And when other people come up out of war limping on some crutches and wheelchairs, and they succeed to make their nation a first world nation within one generation, we don't know what you're doing. And I'm leaving, no, not because you're struggling to come up for air. It's because you refuse to let me breathe, at least within your defeatism, within the dystopian nightmare that you've created for people on such a plush land flowing with milk and honey, so full of rich minerals, natural resources, etc. You have got so much natural wealth as a country, and yet you've left me out on a limb? Okay, no. I will then go to a concrete jungle that I don't understand why God has taken me to a concrete jungle that's going to make me buy an apple for $1. I don't know why, after coming from Africa, where I can get my fill of mangoes, pomegranates, olives, where I can get my fill of peanuts, nuts, walnuts, anything homegrown, not too expensive, why I'm going to struggle to have a fruit smoothie every morning. Why God would take me to a country like that when I'm still financially struggling, I do not know. But I have been spared ever since finding out that Korea demands that I have a degree. However, I get why. Because they need to verify that I can actually teach in English. But God said that I'm not moving to Busan, where it is that you can be on this program that allows you to have only 2 years and seal your transcript. And you have to provide your sealed transcript over there. I came to discover, God showed me Seoul, South Korea. I told you in my last video. So Seoul, you can't work there without a degree. So I was like, God, what are you doing? I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, Lord. Father, I don't know. What are you doing? Please, I need to know. You showed me that I'm going to Korea. How? You showed me that I'm going to Korea in particular to teach English. I'm not doing anything else. How? And I was despaired, leaning on my own understanding. And then I said to myself, okay, record a video and you will find out. I said to myself, record a video and you will find out, because in your videos you are able to put 2 and 2 together because the Spirit is leading your conversation. Before I came here to record, I kept hearing voices of these monstrous beasts in their psychopathy saying to themselves, we caused her to go back to school. And I remember saying to myself, sorry, apparently in Korea, you can't just blow your nose in a public space, because then they will find you entirely inappropriate. Well, therein lies a culture shock over there for somebody whose nose is always running. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, I thought that God meant that I'm sent back to school with my TEFL certificate. That's what I'm schooling right now. But it's not school. It is. The TEFL certificate has shown me, has made me understand that I love this thing. It's given me a new niche. I'm enjoying it. And I want to teach it for the rest of my life. I want it to be my career. Teaching English as a foreign language and languages at all. I want to do that. So it is a form of school. However, it's mild, right? It's very mild. And I kept on hearing in the Spirit, we made her go back to school. Like, I'm being afflicted by crazy monsters. We made her go back to school. How? I owe this money. If I'm moving to Korea as the first country that I'm going to be out here hanging out in, how am I going to get that done? Because even if I were to apply for that program where only after second year can you do a thing, and also like it significantly reduces how much money you can earn. It is possible to earn about $3,500 to teach English in, be it Japan. And that's also another thing. The Lord showed me that I'm going to have an option if I want to also teach in Japan. Because not only did I see the flag of South Korea, Seoul, but recently, and only after seeing the flag of South Korea and also seeing Seoul, first I saw a billboard written Seoul, then I just got flash visions of like the flag of South Korea. And then along the weeks, because I've been studying for 4 weeks now, and before the last video that I did was a month ago. I'm halfway through my TEFL course now. And so I've ever since then, of course, gotten visions and dreams, but I haven't been sharing, right? Because I'm like studying and I just don't care to speak to monsters. I told you that I had dreams before I lost everything in my last video. of seeing a whole bunch of Asians in my dream, and at first I thought they were Chinese, but then I concluded that they must have been Koreans, because God showed me I'm going to South Korea, right? Here it is, then I see, you know, that white flag with a red dot in the middle, and that's Japan, right? That's Japan. How I saw Korea was the billboard flashing that was written the letters SEOUL on them, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to Seoul, South Korea, I'm so excited. And then I got flattened because I don't have a degree. I found out that to teach English as a foreign language in Korea, you can't just have a TEFL certificate. And even then, I came to learn that a TEFL certificate is not even so much of a strong, heavy requirement, even to teach online. Like, right, it's not even that big a deal. You can try to teach online on Preply or whatever. Without a TEFL certificate, it might be a little bit harder for you to get the job when you don't have TEFL, but it's not a necessity. It's a necessity. And I just felt like, did my mom just waste all that money on paying for the certificate when I didn't even need it? I could just have taught English online. But you see, I had to get the TEFL certificate, and so therefore study a whole bunch through a whole bunch of videos on YouTube to actually develop the love. That as a result of interacting with teachers online that are helping me with my course, I'm finding that I'm seeing myself in them. I love what they do. It's what I've officially decided that that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. But I mean, without a degree, I'm not going to be able to travel to countries that are the best ones to teach English in, that also are going to give me the best earning potential. I also am not going to be able to be supported in any fashion in nations that are the ones that are going to give me the best earning potential, right? Because I'm how old, guys? I'm 42. I'm 41, but let's round it off to the nearest year. I'm turning 42 this year, so I'm 42. How much time do I have on me to go to Japan and to go to Korea? And that question that worries the living daylights out of me. God has been like, Karabo, please do not come at me with worries about age. If I've told you you're going here and there, it's because I have accommodated, factored in to the fact that you are all frazzled and concerned about your age. And also asking me, at what point then, if I'm busy moving around from Korea to Japan, am I going to meet my man? Look at that rhymed. At one point, when I'm busy hopping around from Korea to Japan, am I going to meet my man? I want to marry. That's the thing that I want the most. I want children. My womb is shutting, I think, though I don't think it's true. I'm fertile, right? But I'm worried because, you know, I'm this age. And I'm going to a country that has got exceptionally high standards for beauty. Yes, I'm pretty, but listen, I'm old. And secondly, it's ageistic in the worst way. And everybody is happy to just ask you off the bat, how old are you? In a way that in my country, it's largely inappropriate to just be asking people their ages unless they're in high school, right? Largely we tend to sort of kind of be sensitive about women, especially ages, people's ages, because they're all iffy about it, and kind of standoffish. But in Korea, I found out that, like, listen, there's a whole thing to be asking people, how old are you? Because there's like a whole uni like system where if a person is even merely just 1 year older than you, you have to refer to them by a certain other terminology, and that's why they ask you your age so easily. So it would be easy for people to ask me my age and be shocked out of their minds that I'm what age that I am, but nonetheless being that age, I would immediately be met with discrimination for being as old as I am. And I was like, how are you going to send me to a country that actually going to be asking me my age so easily? God, I'm sensitive about my age. I've been aged all these years. Like, I'm worried that my biological clock not only has ticked, come and gone, but like my marriability into at all. Like, I can't have people be awesome. You don't look your age, but you're a girl. Whoa. And you're not married. I don't want those uncomfortable questions. I don't want them. Plus, I don't look my age, so I don't want to be getting invited to clubs. My kids, now I won't be. I won't be invited because it's quite a very hectic nightlife by the 20-something-year-olds that go to Korea on this ESL program. They won't ask me because they tend to meet each other as expats, as foreigners, either in the schools where they're teaching or as they're walking around Korea, and then they huddle with each other and they become friends. But now there is no way under heaven that I would meet a new person, like a foreigner, fellow foreigner, an expat, and an expat as a South African person, or even meet yet another South African, and not immediately, off the cuff, just start talking about God. Like, I can do no other thing but talk about the Lord. I can do no other thing but make it clear that I love the Lord with everything in my bones. And I'm looking for a church over here. So if at all people know that I'm a church girl or one of those churchy people, even though they don't ask my age, because they would maybe assume that I'm young enough to be hanging out in Itaewon, out to hanging out with some little children, they would unlikely invite me to certain things because, oh, she's religious, leave her alone, she's always in the Bible. So they're not gonna get all up in my grill unless they're interested in my God and they want to fellowship with me and hang out with me, have lunch with me so we can discuss the things of God. I'm very interesting. Do you want to be my friend? Because listen, I will talk about God all the day long, but have you not been able to listen to me for all these hours? I can talk about God, but I don't do boring. Hang out with me. I'm better than a club. Listen, I am so much better than a club. I am warm, I'm cozy. I'm better than hours on Netflix watching some trashy show that'll make you get nightmares. I am so much better than a nightclub and Netflix. conversation with people of God, the things of heaven, are so much better than drinking it up a storm. I found out even that in Korea, everybody is like a drunk. Well, maybe not a drunk, but they just have a very hectic drinking culture. And some of these people were like, if you come to Korea, be prepared, you're going to drink a lot more. And I remember just being like, I don't drink. And apparently it's like your bosses can take you out for drinks and you don't get to say no. But I mean, unless of course they might respect that you don't want to do that if you're a foreigner. But largely in Korean culture, it's expected that you need to know how to be drinking with everybody. And I'm like, okay. Anywhere where I go, people are gonna understand that I'm one of those hard knock Christians. And ain't nobody inviting a hard knock Christian to the bar to drink after work in order to let loose or to have a better working relationship. They're not gonna invite me. And if they do, they're gonna understand. They have to understand that if I must be here because it's a work function, I'm having something to eat. I'm having a Coca-Cola, but I'm not drinking alcohol. And even then, I don't want to hang out with a bunch of brawling, drinking colleagues after work. I'm like not that desperate to impress a boss. And apparently if you are a foreigner, they will let you get away with stuff like this. But I think if you just make it clear to your colleagues and also your boss, like your, what do you call this? Your superior. I think if you can just let them know just what your convictions are, just as you're passing notes in like the school staff room during lunch, I think they will respect that this one is not going to come with us because she's going to church after work. They might tease me, but it doesn't matter insofar as I'm doing my job, right? I'm too godly to have people just ask me things like, let's go to the club. Like, it just becomes clear. It just becomes clear after just 20 minutes of conversation with me that I love the Lord. So I wouldn't get invited. I wouldn't, people would not try me for that. They wouldn't. I don't know. I'm just thinking in that way. Why would they try me for that? My hope is that the church in South Korea is so serious that people understand that there's certain things that you can't test with religious people, right? And it would be like a Muslim that wears a hijab and everything, being invited to have drinks with the boss just not recognize that you can't ask that girl this thing. You just can't, okay? So I'm kind of hoping that I give off with my conversations. Muslim with a hijab, like they're just not going to invite me because I don't want to have to be awkward enough and say no. And also, I look so young that it is not an impossibility that young expats might think I'm their age and so therefore ask me for drinks so we can see Seoul. I'm not that girl. If I would go and travel around to see Seoul, it would not be cafes at night. I like that nightlife. Listen, it would be like going to Melville to just mingle because I'm young and I know. However, I would go to, as a Christian, Melville during the day, take a good book, read it, and have coffee by myself just to take myself out and, you know, feel the rain on my skin. But instead of feeling the rain on my skin, I'm feeling the wind just to be in a very culturally vibrant zone as someone that just wants to get out of the house. I could go during the day to these beautiful cafes, but not at night. And so therefore look like somebody that's way in over my head and too old for this thing. And also, I think that, I really have a difficult time accepting not having a vehicle, but nonetheless, we'll get around that. I just would want to see, like, what would be my activities to just essentially stretch my legs. If I had somebody with whom I could stretch these legs, because I would definitely want to do this with somebody. I would want to just see the country, even outside of Seoul. I would just want to like take the metro, a train to some random region and just walk around there for a little minute and then go back home. Because apparently over there, even at 2 a.m., like it's bustling outside. Like there's such a thriving nightlife. So I would definitely want to like get like, some sand in my toes. But I would want to do this not alone. I would want to do this with somebody that is a friend. So the only thing that I would ask for is for a companion. Not so much a romantic one, but a friend that is also godly and wants to fellowship in Christ. And maybe the two of us be looking for a church that preaches in English and that is also not heretical, whatever. And I remember when I was so worried, like there's this one guy's channel on YouTube that I watch called K Explorer that does interviews of people in Korea about how's your experience in Korea, type of establishment thing. And his videos where he's alone in his blogs, not vlogs, but his videos. I'm like, he's so lonely. I don't want to be alone like that. He just looks so alone. Even though in his YouTube channel where he is interviewing other people, he just looks like he is so, not so much sociable, but social, right? He's so social. But then he looks like somewhat of a hermit, and he even confessed himself that he's a bit of a hermit. And I was like, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to walk around Korea alone. I already walk around South Africa alone. I don't want to go to a foreign country and be as alone as K Explorer and only have a YouTube channel where I look like I've got a life. God, I need people. I'm tired of being alone. And when I was watching K Explorer's videos and like worried that God, you're sending me to a country where I'm going to be alone even though I've got a big YouTube channel, the Spirit said, you're not going to be alone. And I said to God, so what? Are you going to, of course, God, I'm not alone because I walk with you. I thought God meant that you're not alone, I'm with you. As in, I will never leave nor forsake you, that even though you feel like you're alone, you're not. And I was like, but God, I've been that kind of not alone for 12 years. I mean, as in people, any company, human beings. And God said again, by the Spirit, you're not going to be alone. So I'm going to get toes in my sand. I'm going to get sand in my toes with a friend, or maybe a person, like potentially future husband. Listen, I'm not quite looking at that yet, even though I'm so old that I should be. But definitely what I'm gonna have are friends, or a friend with whom I'm gonna be able to have a decent experience in this other country. But how in the world is that gonna happen when I don't have a degree? How? Maybe they might, not might, I mean, the age, the uppermost age limit in Korea in particular to teach English as a foreign language is 55. So I'm well within range right now. I'm well within range, so that's not going to be an issue. I think I might pass the test of a mug shot, a headshot, a face shot, because apparently to apply for a job over there you have to have a qualification. Not a qualification, but you have to be pretty. Like, they have a pretty bias over there. And there's this one black girl that got a job in the EPIC program or whatever because she was beautiful, very typically, from the US, and some other chick that was from South Africa was overlooked above her, even though she had like a teaching degree, all these qualifications and all this experience, and they took this chick that was fresh out of university over the black girl. They took her over, no, not the black girl, because they were both black, but they took the American girl who was just like physically very, by the standards of this world, extremely beautiful. And the South African girl, I didn't know her. Because I was watching the YouTube channel of the American girl, but she was not with typical standards of beauty by the standards of this world. And they passed her up even though she had more experience.